We don't know what's going on behind the scenes there. That's her path. And if I can't change that, then I need to respect that. Some people just don't want to get better. Some people are not necessarily consciously. So I'm not meaning to say it insultingly. Yet you've got to really be able to identify that. It is sad and it is painful when you see it for a moment, but we can't save everybody. Like we can't. We're not saving anybody. They're saving themselves, but we can't facilitate everybody and transform them on the journey. You've got to really be at the point where you say, I am willing to do absolutely anything right now to be able to get to that next point. Like I almost in a sense surrender. We're still not properly surrendering because we've got to really completely have that self-worth, self-love, self-trust, their self-value, which leads to self-trust to be able to surrender. But it's literally just show me the way.
Welcome back to the Happy Positive Energy Game podcast with me, your host, Luke Anning. I hope all you beautiful people are feeling bright and warm. And if not, that is exactly why we are here today. I've got an amazing guest for you guys. I have got Julia Saar. Julia is a spiritual transformation coach and trainer who helps trauma survivors manifest their lives through the desires that they truly want to have using neuro-linguistic programming, energy healing, and channeling. Her subconscious reprogramming, manifestation, and quantum healing methods have created deep transformation, not only in myself, but many, many others as well, including actors, executives, and other coaches too. So Julia, it's an absolute honor to have you on this podcast because you've had a huge, huge impact on my life as well as many others, I'm sure. Welcome on.
Oh, thank you, thank you. And it's just as much an honor on my side, especially since I must say I've had the wonderful pleasure of having the tour into your deep subconscious. And you are just such an inspiration. You are such an inspiration, such a doer, I'm just honored. I'm completely honored and grateful. So thank you. Literally.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you. So we're going to dive straight in with some questions here. And I know you mentioned there about going deep into my transformation, but why do you think you need to go so deep within people's subconscious to go through transformation?
We need to go deep because that's the hidden information that we talk about, where, most of us know about the conscious and the subconscious, and the conscious is controlling about 3%, where the rest is in the subconscious, which remembers everything, not only from the day we were born, but from past lives. And again, if we're just talking about science here, where kinesiology, either the subconscious has had illusions of past lives or they've literally existed, we don't know, but the subconscious holds it in. So all the memories are there. And so, as you even know from the experience, you never know because we have like over 200 emotions that exist, but we have 7 main emotions that they all stem from, which we've definitely experienced those 7 emotions from the day that we were born, even from being in the baby crib all the way up. And so we access that information, that hidden information, in order to be able to bring new perceptions, because that's how we heal. We heal by expanding and seeing from a different perspective. As I always mentioned, goes back to even Albert Einstein's work. And that's why I do that. That's why I do that. We get that hidden information, we bring it out, and then we know what we need to heal on. And of course, being in theta brain state, we can also implement whatever beliefs we want and amplify the feelings that are connected there, and it just locks it in. So, yeah, hidden information, darling, hidden information.
Mm. And when you talk about theta brain state, can you explain to the audience like what that is and how you might access that?
Yeah, so I guess most people you'd hear a lot of people say you should say your affirmations and do your thing in the mornings or in the evening because you're still in theta brain state. The theta brain state is that we have a few states. The normal brain state that we're operating from in our day to day is on beta, and then when we do neuro linguistic programming, many people go into alpha, some theta. Hypnosis gets more into deeper brain states. And theta brain state is where we're the most relaxed, the most we are operating through the parasympathetic nervous system, which is rest and digest, right? So this is where we can open and unlock all that hidden information and actually be open to receive, because this is where we can literally embed any commands that we want and any beliefs that we want to take on. So theta brain state is my BFF. It's it's everything that I do, and definitely recommend people to look into it. You don't need to be a master at it, but you need to understand that even alpha can be quite quite positive, quite productive, but theta is where all the depth of the work is done. So we want the brain to literally be in complete quiet and stillness, and to have our nervous system, the right nervous system, operating so that we can make the transformation that we want to make. Yeah. Did I narrow that down? Did you want any more information? That would be more.
No, please do keep talking on this one.
That's theta brain state for me, and I found that really interesting. And some people take longer to get into there, and um, some people got like I can go in there quite fast. And so the more you get used to it, that's why when we get into meditations and we get into literally slowing the mind down. So I'm not talking about like the guided visualizations. We tend to get into slip in and out of theta brain state there. However, when we're literally going into the stillness where we're attempting to switch off the thoughts as much as possible, it's a theta brain state that we can get into in depth when we're doing our own meditation, or when someone is guiding you with linguistics, that is something else that is specific to your representational system. So theta brain state is where we access the hidden information. It's where we make all the transformations that we want to make. That for me is everything. So for me, theta is everything. Theta, theta.
Hmm. And like from our conversations, I know your transformation's so deep. Like, I know we're not meant to trauma compare, but some of the things that you spoke about were things that I was like, wow, like I didn't realize one human could go through that many things. And now that's put you into this space of being like, if you know Julia, if you've ever connected with her, and I'd recommend going and looking at her content, like Julia has like a very powerful aura, I would say. But with your transformation being so deep, why do you think the things that happened so that you're where you're at now? Like, why do you think those certain things happen to you? Is there a reasoning behind that, do you believe?
Talk about my history and my past. Most definitely. I mean, this is just, again, everything is just an idea until you really know it as an inner knowing. But my honest belief, and from my experience and what I've experienced in clients as well, so is that I really truly believe that everything that we go through is a piece of the puzzle. Everything that we go through, things we go through, we also are manifesting because we're consistently manifesting. So we can manifest on low, or when we're in low state. So we're manifesting things that may not be desirable, or even like maybe completely opposite to what we want. However, I believe that many significant, especially traumas, big traumas, were put there because every trauma is an opportunity for us to change. Every trauma is an opportunity for us to expand. It's an opportunity for us to find the positive learnings, what we want to attain from that we can really be able to empower. That's how we get through anything, is to find that empowerment so we get the answer. And because I've had such an extreme life, and where my path is taking me now, and I truly believe, shall that not have happened to me, shall I have not have gotten through the trauma that I've gone through, I wouldn't be the perfect example and the inspiration for people. And it's something that's actually really come to, because it's been a big challenge for me to come through with my sharing my story, for example. Not because I care of sharing my story. I'm honored to share my story. I just generally believed no one really cared. Like, it doesn't, it's about them. I'm always there for them. And really, it's only been in the last year that I've started to really awaken to the understanding that people connect more and they relate more. I guess you would know that very much as a business coach, as that storytelling is a very important part. Yeah, I can relate to just about almost anything of wherever it is that I'm the areas that I'm going into, and I still learn because again, we're going back to the emotions. We said we talked about the seven main emotions. Two people may have two complete opposite experiences, yet get that same effect of a trauma or similar to, which is why it's interesting when we talk about, you mentioned comparing before. It's something that majority of people, I won't say everyone, but almost everyone, majority of people go through this, and it always starts at childhood, right? At childhood, whether it's like really, really early toddler childhood, really early childhood, where we have this conditioning to compare ourselves to others, let alone compete with others. And because we're comparing ourselves, so we're putting that judgment on ourselves and creating a whole chain of misjudgments. But yeah, definitely, I believe my past, I wouldn't change it for the world because I've already overcome it, and it's brought me to where I am today. I won't be where I am today, so I'm not changing nothing, even if I could, use that magic wand. So definitely, piece of the puzzle, every part.
Mm, mm, mm. And I'm wondering if I can ask a deeper question here, which is going to be along the points of transformation, but I feel like the best healers are still healing and the best teachers are still learning somewhat. But what's something that you found was a real challenge to heal from?
I could tell you honestly, it might be getting a bit deep. I don't know whether you'd want to filter it, but
We can go deep on this
we can
podcast.
go deep. It's been quite open, but for when at the age of 14, where I went through very horrific sexual abuse, it was a kidnap and rape. Me and my sister were kidnapped and raped in a foreign country, and I literally had I'd overcome it very very easily. Like I really refused to allow somebody else's sins to like traumatize me, and I really didn't know how to. I was really hurt about what he had done to my sister. Because I blamed myself a lot because she did everything to protect me and I just sat there doing nothing out of fear. Even when he went on her and she would try to fight him and I did nothing. That was a big trauma. Yet it affected my life in many other ways that I was completely unconscious with. And it's actually only something that I've worked on more recently, which is why we're always healing. We're bringing things up where it affected me being able to be intimate in the morning because I would connect to that because I chose that's how I healed from it, saying, well, I choose who I allow into my body. So, anyone can come into my body, and then it matters what I choose, and that's what matters. Yet I didn't quite realize the attachment that I had there of protection, that I couldn't be intimate in the morning because I was so tired. And I always felt that if it was disconnected, disconnected intimacy meant rape, right? Even though I didn't literally think of those words logically. And so, yeah, that's one thing that I had healed on recently and still, I believe, needs a bit more work on because I still see it creeping up again. So, but I didn't put the conscious effort. I always talk about you got to do the conscious effort. I got lazy on it. And so I guess there's like deeper stuff. So that's one of my weaknesses that I can tell you. And now that you brought it to the table, I guess I have to hold myself accountable and get into it. I'm glad that you said that. See how we're all like angels just supporting each other. That was one thing that had come through. And I'd been raped twice, and so the first rape had absolutely different effect. The second rape, sorry, had absolutely different effect on me. But yeah, so we're healing and we're dealing with things. And of course, in my line of where I'm at, I also deal with like ancestral wounds and things like that. But I'm always healing, always figuring things out. If we think that we're not healing anymore, then we're kind of lying to ourselves. That's all it is. We're lying to ourselves. And if we feel that we've learned everything, we need to switch that up because that's also a lie that we tell ourselves, exactly as you said. Yeah. Why you
Mm-hmm.
asked that question specifically?
So I just think, obviously, like I know you and like I know some of the things that you've been through, but I appreciate the audience don't necessarily know that. And I know you talked about transformation there, and there's probably some people curious as to, okay, like transformation sounds cool and healing sounds cool, and there's a lot of different modalities, but what's the process that you take yourself or your clients through when they're working through that transformation or healing process?
Well, I mean, my process of transformation was different in the sense of what I take my clients through in terms of the subconscious reprogramming and all that area. That's the shortcuts that I found that I wish I had. As you would find the similarities, which is what I find phenomenal about you, because I've realized that's kind of like one of the things that Luke's code, right, is to move forward. You're consistently moving forward and nothing stops you. And I literally had to change countries to make that transformation, not knowing what I was doing. But I literally transformed myself in the sense that I had created myself from scratch. And I went through all that healing and going through the long way of literally journaling and writing and questioning and journaling. It took me years to literally unpack all that because I didn't have someone guiding me. But what I do today, when it comes to healing myself or catching a limiting belief, whether it's limiting beliefs or even things that are deeper, um, I actually start to I listen to my own tracks. Like I'll even record myself a track, like something that I'll take you through because I know how to answer the questions to myself, and then carry on onto more questions, and I'll leave more silence in the background or more music in the background, let it extend longer. But I'm always in theta brain state to get a lot of things done, but I'm consciously aware every day, like throughout the day. I'm consciously aware, so I'll catch myself and I'll put things in. So I specifically say, I know I've been lazy on that area that I needed to get fixing on, to get not fixing, fixing is not the right word, to get healing on, right? So we can release what needs to be released and grow stronger and move forward and enjoy better, right? Enjoy morning.
Hmm.
Yet, so that's where the similarities are. I literally will do what I do for you guys, in that same area, and and again, it's like mastering the mind and mastering the emotions, as we spoke to before. It's like not letting anything go by. If I find myself, and I'm still, even though I've worked on my worthiness, I catch myself having deeper worthiness wounds that I didn't even realize existed. Like now, when it comes to me wanting to be on stage or something to be able to inspire and get my book out and whatever, I realized that, or me even becoming visible and sharing my story, there was like worthiness issues there, that like little wounds that had to get healing on. So sometimes we need to be presented with specific situations or circumstances that show it to our face. My husband is my number one reflection too. You know,
Hmm.
like he is like the parts that irritate me the most is the parts that I find within myself and help me to change and shift. I'm just always observing. I'm always paying attention. If there's something I don't like about myself, even just the way I'm feeling, like if I don't like waking up feeling stressed in the morning, if I don't like anything that I don't like, I realize anything I don't like I can change,
Hmm.
or I have to accept. And if you're resisting on accepting, because you, the only reason I won't accept something is because I know it can be changed. If I know it can't be changed, I'm like, okay, accepted. And we all know that. You don't need to be a master in that. But that's what I do, and I do a lot of but I do a lot of energy work with myself too, because I'm so quick into getting into theta brain state. Like when I was sick with a lung infection, I went into full victim mode. First I was questioning what's going on with my heart chakra. I was understanding what's going on, identifying how to move forward. Um, so I like allowed myself to just stay in victim mode. I was just too tired to do anything and didn't care. And then I was like, what am I doing after a couple of days? What are you doing, Julia? Like, get in there. I went in, what I do with really connecting, emotionally connecting, bringing in the light and doing what it is that I do. So I use a few of those modalities without a question of a doubt. I will always go in with the shortcut, but the way I transformed in the beginning was the longer way, and that's what I try to show people to do. That it doesn't have to be that long, daunting way, but our environment and everything that's going on within is must be in check. So,
Hmm.
do you need to change countries or change cities to do it? Maybe sometimes, but definitely not all the time. Yet, definitely not all the time. Hope that
Hmm.
cut it.
Hmm. Yeah, I hear that. That's a really beautiful point to make. I think sometimes there is like a total need for like a location change or like a total shift in what that looks like. And yeah, like the sexual abuse happened in the room that I'm in now. And like since we had a layout change, the painting changed, and I mean everything in this room was different since that abusive time. There's been a shift, but it's interesting how different people need like a total different location change. Like I've spoken to people who are like, "Oh yeah, I can't go back to my hometown because of this, and this."
Yeah. Well, how do you find being in that room? Do you ever get any, like it's completely out of your existence?
Yeah, I think for me, where like the guy that it happened with actually goes to the same gym as me was when it got sort of re-triggered, and when I was like, "Hey, like this is coming up," and my coach at the time was like, "Okay, so what do you want to do about it?" And I was like, "I kind of want to go up to him," and she was like, "Is that going to help you?" And I was like, Not really." So it was really interesting how like I journaled through it and then actually came out the other side. But it's how you're internally affected rather, right? The same as how you were like, you refused to be traumatized as you said.
Well, mine was it's more extreme. Like we want to move back to Australia, right? And Sydney would have been an option. I just don't want to be in Sydney, not because of anything, because I've changed and I don't feel that that's going to hold me back. But I was in, we're talking about drug addiction. We're talking about just
Yeah.
complete in the gutter kind of life. I had to make a shift. That's what I'm saying. It's not that we necessarily need to change countries, but I changed to completely different environment, to completely different people. I suddenly had family that cared about me. It was like a blessing. So it was literally changing environments. But with what you're saying, again, your journaling, by the way, is fascinating because that you literally do self heal yourself and bring things up to the surface through your journaling. The journaling lets you bring things to the surface and you say, okay, now this is what I need to do. And then you find your strategies. Your phenomenal example, which I assume you would be sharing with your clients with business coaching, but your journaling is absolutely phenomenal. It's a skill that is a healing skill on a whole other level because you know how to take action and to pull forward.
Mhm.
And I guess that's worked well enough for you to be able to be in that same bedroom, which
Mhm.
is very phenomenal in itself.
Mhm. Yeah, I think it's a really important note to take. I think I was reading a study a while back from I took a little journaling course actually, so that probably adds to it. But there was a study saying that um, even if you journal once per week, that your depressive symptoms can go down by 38%. So I think it's an important note to do. So if you don't journal, do journal. You don't have to start anywhere crazy. It could just be a couple questions and just writing out how you feel in that moment and then just processing things and allowing yourself to process. So, Julia, why do you think that so many people feel so lost, at least from possibly like a neurolinguistic standpoint?
I believe that people don't quite really know what they are, not who they are, what they are. They don't quite really know and understand. They hear a lot of things, they read a lot of things, but they don't really quite know what the power of the subconscious mind and what it does, and how we literally create stories to ourselves from the day that we were born. Literally everything is a story. And so if you're not liking the story, you just got to go in there and reprogram it and heal this. So there's one thing with reprogramming, and then we're talking about healing matters of the heart. And this is where my energy stuff comes in, but it's the same thing as putting in your awareness and your focus and healing and understanding your emotions, that we are never our emotions, right? So it's knowing the mind and what it is with the conscious and the subconscious, knowing our emotions, knowing our physical body, because our physical body is always giving us signals, and that's the place that gets sick when we're not listening, right?
Mhm.
Um, which is also then the energetic body, and the energy is everything of what life is, and slash spirituality. So, to in a neurolinguistic programming point of view, I would tell you that we're all just a program. Everything is a program, a condition for. It doesn't matter with condition or unconditioned. It's a program, and from programs and from the programs that we have, from our thoughts that we have, which trigger more emotions, which trigger more thoughts. In the end, we create all these belief systems. We have millions and millions of beliefs. We can't sit there and reprogram all those beliefs will be there forever. Well, we can get to the core beliefs. And that's why we're constantly reprogramming too. That's why self hypnosis is one of the most powerful tools that you can learn to do. Awareness mixed with self hypnosis. Self hypnosis means you understand that you're having a challenge, find the right um, guided um, visualizations that you can take yourself on, or the way that you have that inner talk in your meditations when you're in theta brain state, and how you're controlling your thoughts and allowing your thoughts to flow through when you're conscious in theta brain state, if that makes sense. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. So really, I kind of look at it somewhere similar as well with the mindset work that I do is that, you know, we have these stories, we have these beliefs, but if we can work our way a little bit backwards, so to speak, but I think it's actually forwards because we're gaining a different kind of awareness around on that original belief, then that means that we can then look to literally do that reprogramming process that is NLP.
Yeah, but it's also I find it interesting with what you said. You said like going backwards, but you really are like reverse engineering things. You know, I had to reverse engineer to model myself to understand how did I go to where I am. A lot of people used to say, "How are you still alive?" And this was before I ever studied neurolinguistic programming. I should be a whole mental case with what I've gone through. But as you said, the reason why I was not that mental case is because I cried the shit out. Like that's how I dealt with it. I cried. I felt sorry for myself. I asked all the questions to myself on how this can happen, and then I said, okay, well, how can I take this forward? What can I do with this? And for me, my instance, because I was always a known giver, I always knew that I was going to give back. So in the beginning stages, it was me with my music. I would write music, and I wanted to touch lives with my words. And because music is what made me feel safe, my music made me feel not alone. And then it developed into spiritual readings as well, which is what I was doing, was always giving. And then it developed into mastering the mind. And when I found out what it was, I finally understood. I got it. This is it. We got to master our mind, master our emotions, and we can master our reality. That's all it comes down to, because everything that we go through is not just beliefs and values. These beliefs and values create behavioral patterns, and more and more behavioral patterns. Everything is just a pattern after pattern after pattern. And so when we peel these layers back, we start to change our behaviors, we start to change our reactions. So it does go down on deeper levels, but subconscious reprogramming is very difficult to go without, I find. Like imagine what it would be like to go through what we went through, for example, in a matter of 4 weeks if subconscious reprogramming wasn't there, or even like subconscious healing, right? Well, just to get the hidden information, right? Just to get that information without even programming those new beliefs and all the conscious work. Think of how long that would have taken,
Hmm.
in my opinion.
Hmm. Yeah, long time, very long time. Like even I don't even know if it would have happened, you know. So I think it's definitely needed. That's for sure. So Julia, have you ever encountered someone within your practice that was kind of so lost in their trauma that they weren't transformable? If that makes sense as a question.
Yeah, it's happened. I can't work with everyone. Some people literally are not ready. They think they are. They think they're logically ready, but they're not because they've become so addicted to the pain. It's not putting judgments or passing blame. May they come around at some point? Yeah, it really, the last time that happened was around 8 months ago, and I believe it's she was so wanting it. She was so wanting it, but her belief system wouldn't allow her to get through. Sabotage kept happening. Remember when we had that one session and the coughing came out and all that self sabotage came out? Remember
Yeah.
that? So imagine that on the extremist level. She got corona, then she got like this one thing after the next that just kept
Right.
happening. I saw the sabotage until eventually it was like, yeah, this she's just not ready. She's just not ready, and maybe she's not meant to be ready. Maybe she'll be ready in 10 years from now.
Mhm.
But yeah, it does happen, and we have to respect that. We need to love and respect. I felt that same way with my mother, who tried to kill herself every single year until I understood. Right? This is her path, and I got to respect that. I can't change that. That's her path. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes there. That's her path, and if I can't change that, then I need to respect that. Some people just don't want to get better. Some people are not necessarily consciously. So I'm not meaning to say it insultingly. Yeah, you've got to really be able to identify that. It is sad and it is painful when you see it for a moment, but we can't save everybody. Like we can't. We're not saving anybody. They're saving themselves, but we can't facilitate everybody and transform them on the journey. You've got to really be at the point where you say, "I am willing to do absolutely anything right now to be
Mhm.
able to get to that next point." Like I almost in a sense surrender. We're still not properly surrendering because we've got to really completely have that self worth, self love, self trust, self value, which leads to self trust to be able to surrender. But it's literally just show
Mhm.
me the way. And so if people are not there, I can't work with them.
Mhm.
For me personally, maybe other people can, but I don't believe in getting caught up in data. A lot of people like to get caught up in data of their trauma, and you see how much we don't need to get into data when it comes to healing, right, and reprogramming. And when we get caught in the data, we get lost. We get lost in that whirlwind, which again is more thoughts, more emotions, more thoughts, more emotions. We're in another planet already. That's not even our world of existence that we've created for ourselves. That's the process.
Mhm.
It's like it's so simple. The process is so simple, and you're like, oh my god, have I really been doing this all my life? I did it for a very long time. We
Mhm.
all do it. It's up to us to be able to migrate through that. Yeah.
Mhm. What are the signs that somebody is ready?
Well, first of all, I will feel it in their energy and how they speak. They're ready. They will. I truly believe you're talking about for what I sense or what they would know in themselves to know if they're ready.
I think maybe what they would know within themselves.
Where they know, right? You know that you absolutely can't continue living life the way you're living anymore. You know that if you continue living life the way you're living, it's probably got one foot in the grave already, or just a destined life of misery. And
Mhm.
yet you know that you're going to keep moving forward. When you know you'll keep moving forward, you're searching for that way, whether it's a coach, whether it's a retreat, whether it's I don't know, you're like searching for that. You're like, where is it? Where is it? Maybe you try hypnotherapy, you try this, people will try. You are not, you are just, I'm not doing this anymore. It's either go and suicide or I'm going to move forward. And I'm talking about that extreme. I'm saying that from someone who has literally been has committed suicide, attempted to commit suicide 3 times. So I was literally, I just gave up. I was like, that's it. And then the moment I did it, I changed my mind. I actually checked
Mhm.
myself in. And yeah, I believe that's what it is. It's where you literally know that you can't live that way anymore. It's just, there is no way you're going to continue on that way. And yet you know that there's got to be something else out there, whether you found it yet or not, but you know that there's a way to move forward. You just got to find it. That's when you know you're ready.
Mm, mm. Yeah, I feel that. I feel like it's sometimes you think that you want the change, but you put the change off, put the change off, put the change off until it's like I remember being with my ex-girlfriend and we were together and we would get paralytically drunk every weekend, and then we would argue all week, and it took some time before you come to that realization of being like, I'm done. Like I'm done. Like I don't want to do this. And that's that point of transformation, right?
Exactly. That I'm doneness. It's the exact same thing. How I transformed getting here. To be honest, though, if I didn't get on that plane with that hope to believe that my father was still alive and that I would find him, I quite easily would have been stuck in that trap of just giving up because I was in such an environment that I didn't know. I didn't. First of all, we never had the phones like we have today. Didn't have internet. I barely even knew what Facebook was. I think Facebook. We're talking about like 14 years ago now. So it was a different place. And so everything was just my environment. Everything that my mind was feeding was my environment. And I believed I had no one, I had nothing, no one cared. I'm on my own and that's it, I'm stuck. I didn't know that there was another way. I don't even think I even thought that therapy existed or coaching existed because I was forced by law to go see a psychologist after the sexual abuse because I was only 14 years old, right? And I wanted to punch her in the face. She was sitting there with a smile on her face. And of course, when you're in the government system, and you're forced because by them to go to get help, it's usually students that are practicing on you. And so
Mm,
I didn't have the best experience. So I kind of had a trauma attached to that. Thought it was all just a bunch of crap. Yet
mm,
today I know that that's out there. So that's why I'm very empathetic to people and understand. But we've got so much that's out there. If you want to make a transformation, you'll have that information put to you. You'll see solutions are out there. Some people may be completely in that bubble if they're in a very horrific state. I'm not going to say that that can't exist, but you've got to be done and knowing that's it. It's either I die now or I move forward.
mm, mm,
I know that's graphic. I know I'm quite heavy. I know I can be quite extreme sometimes in my words, but it's the truth.
mm, mm. Yeah. Yeah. I'm kind of pondering with that. It's, I think it is that very just, it just is there. Like, it's just like, you're ready. I think you know it. I think in a deep part of you, you do truly know it. So Julia, where in your life was the moment that you decided that you'd transform others to such a level that you do now?
That was in 2019. I've been doing neurolinguistic programming since 2015. Um, as a side gig, while working in corporate. Uh, However, in 2019, when I had literally gone in deep, where I had that huge spiritual expansion, and from there, I suddenly understood transformation because I was getting dried out. I'm helping people with certain traumas, whether it's relationships, whether it's rape, whether it's a billion and one traumas, whether it's fears of elevators, fears of just like so many different things. But I was like, what was that missing thing that I couldn't put my finger on until I understood what happens after that? What
Mm,
happens after that? And that's when I got into it was 2019 that I went full soul transformation from A to Z. I stopped taking one-on-ones that was just for, specific traumas and specific things. I stopped it all. That's it. Don't do that no more. Now it's only for my packages of transformation because I know I don't want to waste my time. I don't have time to waste. I have all the love for them, but you can't help everyone. And so, refer them to other people. I only work on transformation in 2019 since I understood what energy was, since I
Mhm.
understood the four dimensions of human connections, I understood that empowerment. And since I really modeled myself, I went, okay, now I get it. And now I get the shortcuts. I actually knew the way. So there's no way that I could go back on that. I still get asked from time to time, and I get tempted. It does happen. I get tempted because I want to help everyone, but there's just not enough hours in the day. And my soul, I need to go where my soul carries me through. And I'm obsessed with what I do. I'm with you when I take you on that journey because that's what I'm passionate about because I've been there myself. And so transformation is my thing now.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, for sure. So, Julia, we've got tradition on this podcast. First one we've already done, but second one is podcast really changed my life. I was listening to a podcast once, and in a small note, the guy said, "Look, if you don't like your life, fucking change it. Do something about it." From there, that started the personal development path and led me eventually to this point right now, where we are. But I want you to really have like a little bit of a think, maybe like a past version of yourself, somebody who was going through some challenging times, some traumatic times, and they're really at their point where they haven't quite reached that point of making like that strong decision, but they really do want to step forward into something new, but there's just something holding them back. They're just on the fence at this point. What's something that you would like to say to that person in that moment? What's something that you would like to really bring a message across to?
Again, I'm big on questions. Like, I wish that I had someone ask me these questions before, but I would say, honestly, what's going to happen if you keep going down this path? Literally understand and see what's going to happen if you're going down this path. And to say to you, for sure, you are not here to suffer forever. And maybe look at the suffering that you're going through and say, hey, what is this piece of the puzzle there for? Why did I have to experience that? What is there for me to give in this world? Like, why is that happening to me? What am I meant to be aware of and see? You will find it. You don't always necessarily first find that empowerment within yourself, that slightest bit, and say, am I worthy? Do I really believe that I'm worthy? Maybe I don't believe that I'm worthy of getting help. When you first understand that I'm worthy of changing, maybe you can start to ask yourself those different questions and say, hey, if you don't want to live this way anymore, uh, then literally ask yourself where you see yourself. Cause I know I'm getting a bit like sidetracked. It can almost like make me a bit emotional because I know how hard it is and I know how difficult it may be to be caught, especially in these moments. Yet, and I don't like to bring time and space illusions. Yet we are in a physical reality, and we are dealing in with time, and we are moving forward in time. And you have no idea the rainbow that's out there waiting for you. That even the slightest shifts create like the biggest glow. The biggest glow. We don't need to be suffering anymore. That's not the truth. It's not the truth. It's just a conditioning. It's not the truth. You've just got a program that's holding you back. So go out and give it a go. That's what I would say. Go out and check and see what resonates. See what you can find. And find the things within yourself that you can say, you know what? Am I willing to really just try something else? Because what I'm doing is not working for me. It's not working. Is there something else? I'm going to play a game. I'm going to try it for a week. Let's see. Let's see. Let's just try. Let's see. Then I'll give up. Then I'll put whatever it is that I want to do, right?
Mhm.
That's what I would say to someone at that point. There's nothing much more that you can say to anyone if they're that much in a funk that they cannot see any other way. It's a process. It's a process that we go through. And yet, I believe that you're here to make a shift during this lifetime. You just got to open your eyes and be aware and just ask to receive. Even if you don't believe in God, even if you don't believe in divinity, even if you don't believe in that, literally believe in yourself and say even to yourself, like if I were you, I'd say, Julia, show me, show me that I can get out of this in any way. Show me the first step and
Mhm.
watch how your intuition will guide you that first step. Watch. Intuition is a science, right? It's a science. It's scientifically proven on intuition. How it comes about, they can't necessarily prove it, no, but it's a fact. Trust your intuition. Play a game with your intuition just once. Try to listen to your intuition on the slightest little inkling that you have. That's the small things, right? And you'll realize that it was right, and then you'll go, oh, okay, it does exist. So you can just raise your hands and say, show me the first step. First step may tell you to just like, you know, go to the store, and you have no idea who you're going to meet when you're there at the store. That's actually going to help say a sentence that's going to shift your life. That's going to get you to that next step. So just awareness. I think that's why awareness is, say, awakening. Yeah, I babbled on a bit on that one, but I just find it a very sensitive topic for most.
Mhm. Mm. Julia, I really, really appreciate you coming onto this podcast and sharing so much of your wisdom, so much of your light. Where's the best place to reach you for anybody who's listening to this podcast and has been transformed somewhat already?
Definitely to check out my social media. Check out Julius Coach on Instagram. You can also go to my website. You'll really know and resonate. I share a lot of content that definitely encourages and teaches. So, when you're not ready to jump on a program, you're not ready to go and get that guidance, at least feed yourself the information that your mind and your heart needs to be able to push you forward. So that's what I would say. Definitely go to the social media,
Mm,
Instagram. Insta.
mm. Yeah, that would be awesome. I would definitely recommend that you guys go over from there. And if you took anything from this podcast, if anything landed, like just have a little bit of a think, like who do you know? Like it could be your sister, it could be siblings, it could be friends, it could be anybody, but it's not about me, it's not about you. It's about getting those messages to people that genuinely need it so that they can raise their vibrations and for us to create this happier, positive energy game of life. So make sure to share away. And so for everybody listening, keep moving forwards. Don't ever stop. We appreciate you and we hope you have an awesome day.